G'day ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the YouTube channel. How are we all doing on this fine, beautiful morning? I tell you what's popping, I've just finished work and I am on the road again. It's a nice Saturday start, so the traffic shouldn't be too bad. I'm on a journey. I thought I'd bring you along. And we have a fun topic for the day. Seems like a lot of people enjoyed that night ride I did recently, so maybe I should have to do a few more of those. Now, quick question before we get into the video, ladies and gentlemen. If I did do some motor vlogs in that kind of environment where it's still sort of lit up, but dark, would you be interested in watching nighttime motor vlogs as it's getting to that later time of year where the sun sets nice and early? So if I have to get the nighttime vlogs done, it's going to have to be the way, but only if you guys are okay with it. Otherwise I'll have to suffer and figure out another way to do it. Without further ado, if you guys are new around here, do subscribe. I post every 3 days, most times. maybe 4 days on a bad time, but if not, you know where to find me, mate. I've got plenty of other videos to watch. Join the Discord, there should be a link down below. And without further ado, let's get into the show, shall we? Woohoo! Oh, yes. Yes, indeed. Oh, that's a nice purple. Oh, that bump hurt my nads. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, today's topic is one that we're all going to have to face at some point in our motorcycling life, and that is, when is it time to upgrade? When and how do you know when it's time to upgrade your bike? Now, look, I cannot call myself an expert on this matter as I'm still on my first bike, but I can tell you seriously that I have come up to that point myself. So, there's a few signs that, you know, are part of the telltale, and they've been around for yonks, okay? So, forgive me if I stutter, I haven't slept very much, if at all. I had one of those nights where I stared at the ceiling and couldn't sleep to save my life. Anyway, back to the video. The first and the most common sign is that you'll be told is, if the bike don't scare you anymore, it's time to upgrade, okay? Now, the reason they say that is when you have a bike, say if you're on a little 300 and you jump to an R1, you're going to shit yourself, okay? You ride a 600, you ride an R1, sometimes you'll end up shitting yourself just as much, because that's just the nature of riding bigger, powerful bikes. Now, if you're not scared of a 600 anymore, you're more inclined to do stupid things. Same thing goes with any bike smaller and whatnot. Now, when you get to the top end of bikes, it gets a little bit harder to get further and further on, but you know, you can always buy a different engine configuration or something along those lines. Don't like the inline 4, flat plane, buy a cross plane. Want a V4, get one. Hey man, shit, even the Triumph Speed Triple, yeah, that's the one, the 1200s, mate, that'd be fun to ride. Guess what? There's always a new engine and bike to try out. But if you're not scared of the bike, you're more inclined to thrash it and get yourself into situations where you're not quite prepared for. Now, look, I don't care how good of a rider you claim you are, you're not the best rider out there. Now, unless you bloody track day every weekend and you've been doing it for 20 years, or you track day multiple times a week for many, many years, and you're an actual legend at racing, which, let's be honest, most of yous are not, alright? Don't ego yourself up like that way. It's one way to get hurt feelings. So, just don't try and be an absolute champion of the track, and on the streets, of course, with your bike. So usually that's a good sign that maybe it's time to buy a bigger bike. Now, I agree with this and disagree with this, because there's well, if you're already not scared of a 600, say, and you buy a leader bike, you might be tame for a few weeks, but I guarantee you're immediately going to do something stupid later on, even like the moment you're not scared of the bike anymore. And look, sometimes it's not the actual bike that scares you, it's the top speed or the acceleration. Now, look, you might find yourself not that scared of it, but you'll still end up sending it and hurting yourself, and that's kind of what the worry is. So I'd say it's not the fear of the bike, it's more of the maturity. Anyway, that's that topic. I thought I'd get that out of the way nice and early. Now, the second sort of one is more what I've come to terms with, is you don't get the same joy out of the bike as you used to. Now, this is a pretty common occurrence with a lot of learner bikes, but funnily enough, a lot of people who ride learner bikes get bored of them and then go to big bikes, and then coincidentally come back to smaller bikes and end up loving them again, because, as the saying goes, it's more fun to ride a slow bike fast than a fast bike slow. Mate, the cockies are out. And the pin lock I can see out of again. But yeah, it's true. When the bike don't give you the same joy as it used to, it's usually a time that it's time to say goodbye to the old girl. Now look, it depends more so on the bike demographic, because sometimes you could buy yourself an adventure bike and it has plenty of power, but you might just be bored of it, you want another one. Fair enough, time to upgrade bikes. Same thing with cruisers. Cruisers, you don't really get more powerful, let's be honest. Realistically, most cruisers are all sort of punching around the same weight limit, so you don't really have to worry about the power or the torque. It's just, if you don't like the bike anymore, you don't like the way it looks, maybe you just want a different kind of engine, like maybe you want a different style, a different thing. Maybe I want a hardtail, for God's sakes. These are all factors you got to worry about when you're on these kind of bikes, and guess what? They all add up to something new and majestic when you finally decide down the line that, you know what, it's time to buy something sexy. Oh boy. And honestly, man, I could not really tell you any two better reasons than that. If the bike doesn't scare you anymore, maybe it's time to get better. And if you're bored of the bike, well, maybe it's time to buy a bigger one. The only other time I could possibly think of that would, you know, warrant needing a new sort of bike would be if you are finally bored of the kind of bike you've ordered. So say you've got yourself a naked bike and you want to try out a cruiser bike. Well, maybe it's time to upgrade bikes. If you've got yourself a cruiser bike like myself and you want to try something else, well, guess what? Maybe it's time to try something else. That's really the only times you really need to upgrade bikes. Every other instance you could think of, unless you break one, of course, you don't really need a new bike, man. It's just be happy with what you got and ride it. Well, if you're bored of it, if you don't like the look of it, if you just want to try something new, or it gets destroyed by some malicious thing, or if it gets stolen, those are the only times I can really think of that are justifiable means that change bikes. Now, I'm not talking about maybe you just want a new bike and you want to have two. That's different. But these are the only truly justifiable times where if you're looking at it, you're umming and ahhing. These are the four sort of scenarios. Well, maybe three if one's stolen. It's not really there to be looked at, but you know what I mean? That's it. That's when you should buy a new bike. That's when you should upgrade. So if you're umming and ahhing, think about it. Is it too slow? Are you bored of it? Does it just not make you fear it anymore? Or do you just want something different? Because if the answer is yes to those questions, well then, my boy or girl, I'm afraid it is time to hang up your hat and put your steel horse away, because it is time for a brand new toy. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with wanting an upgrade. Okay? Now, especially if you're falling in love with certain bikes, take it, for instance, the Rebel. So if you're a big fan of the Rebel 500, oh boy, wait till you see that 1100 if you are unaware of its existence. You are going to be a very, very happy soul. It'll be a very good time. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, that is all I have time for. I'm going to go ride in some traffic now. But I hope you've all enjoyed the video. Do leave a like, comment and subscribe as usual. And as always, take it easy, keep it cheesy, and let me get to the front of this line before I say my deuces. Ooh, here we go. Landfield. Oh, it's a nice MX-5. Peace. Bye.